Sponsored by the Big 98, Nashville's #1 for new country and the home of the Bobby Bones Show.
Welcome to the Rock Interview. I'm thrilled to have back on just an incredible Grammy Award-winning singer, songwriter, musician, you name it, Desmond Child, with a brand new album out, Desmond Child Live. You know, it's not enough that you write hit songs for all of these other bands and artists, but now you have your own album out.
Well, this is my turn. I just, was working and working and working. I became a studio rat, and I sort of lost track of performing. So finally I said, if I'm going to do it, I got to do it now. So I got all my friends together, and we spent 3 nights at Studio 54 Below.
Right.
It's Feinstein's 54 Below. And we compiled this, very lovingly. Everybody just came out for it, and I'm just so delighted with the way it came out.
Well, and I love the album. I've been spending a lot of time listening to it, and I've always been a fan of your writing and everything, but I was so thrilled when you and I first started catching up that you were out performing the songs now that you had written with all of these, great bands. I mean, with Kiss and with Bon Jovi and with Aerosmith and Cher, but now you put your own interpretation, and I really like how you did that, but also as a songwriter, and I think it's a credit to all songwriters, to where you sort of open up the songs and say, here's how this came about. Here's how this happened.
That's fun. The dirt behind the songs.
It is, but I mean, that's so fun, isn't it? I mean, that's what I find interesting. Every time I talk with you, like what cracked me up when I was listening to the intro for the Hanson song.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like going, well, now, your friend was like going, well, now you've gone to the lowest of the low, and then it sells 6 million.
Right. That was Diane Warren.
Right.
Because I told her I was writing with a 9-year-old. That's how old the drummer was.
Right.
And then after they went 6 million, she called me for their number.
Yeah.
So I guess that was her lowest low.
Well, and I also love the thing where you mentioned about Cher, to where obviously all of us are a fan of Cher, and that you had the posters and everything like that. And then you have this song that Cher does, and then how it's mentioned in Wikipedia.
Really?
Yeah, it's like well, that's pretty interesting that, from being a fan, as a young teenager, and then you have a hit song with her.
I know. I had posters of her all over my room. I didn't know whether I wanted to be with her or date her.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, be her or date her.
Right.
Because she was so glamorous, and so then I finally got a chance to work with her after all that time. And we spent a very intense time because she hadn't made a record in 8 years.
Wow.
And then it just all exploded, Turn Back Time, all of those songs, just like Jesse James.
Right.
We All Sleep Alone. That was a fantastic moment for her. And she was on the cover of every magazine. She won the Oscar for Moonlight.
Yeah.
It was like... It was like a very explosive time in my career also. That's when I was working with Joan Jett, Aerosmith, Bon Jovi, Kiss, and so I had at times 5 songs in the top 20.
Right. Well, and that's what I knew your name for years, but I never knew you. And so whenever, the first time, before we got together and started talking, and they're like, well, would you interview Desmond Child? I'm like, yes. He's a real person. It's like, because you were always behind the scenes.
Right.
But then as you started, doing more of the performances and the songs yourself, I'm like, this guy's amazing. Not just a great songwriter, but then also I remember, like we were talking about from the Saturday Night Live with your band, and you put the band back together on
Yeah,
here.
The women I started Desmond Child and Rouge with, Maria Vidal, Miriam Valley, Diana Grasselli, we all came back together, and it was so much fun. It felt like we were back in that little apartment on the east side when Maria would be kicking the back of my chair, and I'd be like, hey, stop. And we annoy each other in just the same ways, and that's just delightful.
And that was the song Love on a Rooftop, which sounds amazing on here. So besides having an incredible new album out, you've got a few other things, including you're working on a boy band documentary?
Well, no, it's not a documentary. It's a scripted movie, and it's called Transcon, The Making of Lou Pearlman and the Boy Band Revolution.
Wow.
And Lou Pearlman was the one that created O-Town in Orlando.
Totally
and
remember.
Started developing all the boy bands.
Yeah.
And to do that, he had a $500 million Ponzi scheme that bankrolled the whole operation.
I had no idea.
And so then finally when the boy bands started leaving him,
right.
he didn't have the cash flow, and then the whole thing collapsed.
Oh my
And he went to
gosh.
prison. He died in prison, so they say. And you know, it's a very exciting project. I've been working on it with my collaborator, Andreas Carlson, who wrote songs like Bye Bye Bye, I Want It That Way.
Oh, yeah.
And we've been working on this for 10 years. And it's finally, we got the team together. It's all coming together.
So you think it's going to release this year?
No, next year. But you know, it's not that easy making a movie.
Oh, not at all.
No. And
Although it's also not that easy making a great album, but, you know, you've done that.
Yeah, and I've been working on a Broadway show called Cuba Libre, and it's the true story of my family before and after the Cuban Revolution.
I love it that one sister was with Batista and the other was with Fidel.
Yeah.
Which you tell as part of the story on the album.
Yeah, and so on the album there's one of the songs from the show called Where Do I Go From You, sung by Tabitha Fair. And, you know, what happened with music is that the value of music fell down so low with streaming that it was like I had this overhead. I had to figure out, how am I going to make money to keep this whole machine going? And I didn't want to let down the people that worked for me for 20 years.
Right.
So I had to start figuring out some bigger projects because, you know, it's hard. It's a nickel and dime business, right?
Well, yeah, but you've written so many hits, though. I mean, it's
I know,
it's
but
ridiculous.
I spent that.
Oh, you haven't. You know what? Come on. I mean, don't you just go out to the mailbox and go, oh, look, there's another check from a hit song I wrote.
Well, it's not quite like that, you know.
Well, speaking of which, I got to bring this up. You know, with all of your other projects going on, with the Broadway play, with the movie, obviously the album, and you're constantly working on new songs and have a new song released. Let's talk about your book coming out this fall.
It's called Desmond Child, Living on a Prayer, Big Songs, Big Life, with David Ritz, my collaborator.
Which is just, I mean, he writes the biggest stars books, and he's working with you, and so it's coming out this fall, huh?
It is, and there's a documentary in the works behind that, and then maybe take my whole life story to Broadway. So, you know, I'm not quitting.
Well, you know, it's so amazing to me, you know, following you on social media and everything too, Desmond. It's all of the stars that you work and write with and everything. It's just the life you lead is kind of amazing. I think it's so incredible too that being a songwriter for so many years, now you're back out in the front of the stage playing the songs that you wrote.
I know. I just love it so much, and I never get sick of singing Living on a Prayer.
Right.
And, you know, they say it's the #1 song played at the end of the night at strip joints and bars all across the nation.
I can believe that.
You know, so, I mean, that's a true story.
Yeah.
Because that's when, you know, it gets to the last chorus, they turn up the lights and everybody jumps up and then they push everybody out.
Well, you know, a point that you brought up on the record that I thought was so amazing too, Desmond, is that with Bon Jovi and with Aerosmith, they actually made you feel like you were a member of their bands. And, you know, and you write with so many artists, constantly writing. Just like last time we were together, you were going to write with Alice Cooper. But to be included, feel like you're part of those bands, that has to be special.
Well, that's the only way you get something good. Because then if you're just in there thinking, oh, well, you know, I'm a song doctor, I'm going to fix songs. But I never really did that. I always came in cold. We just started with new ideas from scratch. And then I helped them to pull out the thing that's inside of them.
Right.
And so, you know, sometimes an artist needs feedback.
Well, you know, and you told me once, you know, it's coming into the magic circle.
It's a sacred circle. And in that moment, that's when I'm happiest, really, is writing a song, because everything else goes away. And you're in touch with something special, something divine inside yourself. And you share that experience and the energy. It's like you leave just like on cloud 9. It's amazing.
So incredible. And I want to make sure, too, that our viewers know your website and social media. Where do they find you?
They find me on Instagram at desmond.child. And I'm on it night and day. And my family's like, hey, put the phone down. We're having dinner. And so my website is desmond.child.
Okay.
www.desmond.child. And between those things, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter. I'm on Twitter more than Trump.
Are you?
Yeah.
Look at that. Well, I'll tell you what. And he doesn't have a great new album. Be sure and get your own copy, Desmond Child Live. And check out the website and social media about the Broadway play, the movie Transcon, and an incredible book coming out this fall that I can't wait to read.
Yeah.
You got a lot going on, buddy.
I know.
It's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you for having me on your show. I so appreciate you being a supportive person in my life.
Well, I'll tell you what,
Thank you so much.
it's my pleasure, and it's like, I'll tell you what, you're going to hear these songs totally different when you listen to Desmond Child live. I mean, you know the hits, but now you're going to hear them from the songwriter, and you're going to hear the story behind them. Get your own copy. Desmond Child Live. Thanks for watching The Rockin' Review.
Sponsored by the Big 98, Nashville's #1 for new country and the home of a Bobby Bones show.